So, Kriti, what can Ukraine expect from this?
So replenishment of air defense systems is the big one here. We've already had Rishi Sunak, for example, in the last 24 hours talk about giving long-range missiles in particular. So the ammunition is coming from other parts of the world, but the actual machinery, the actual systems, the actual air defense systems, drone warfare, for example, that's the part that's getting replenished from this aid package. About $14 billion of U.S. defense getting added to that. $13 billion when it comes to the actual machinery, the equipments, the firearms there. You have about $9.5 billion, though, in forgivable loans. I think this part is a really key piece of the equation, simply from a political standpoint. One, because this was President Trump's initial idea, and it actually brought on some of the kind of more right-wing congressional representatives onto this bill. But it also means that it has to do things with more things like aid, for example, in parts of communities. It's not necessarily related directly to the defense story in Ukraine. It has a little bit more to do with economic assistance. So that is the key parts of the Ukrainian bill at a time, by the way, when the ports, for example, are coming back into focus. You're really keeping an eye on things like grain shipments out of Ukraine and what that looks like. It was certainly under a lot of pressure as Russia was making ground.
And arguably, the Ukraine segment of this bill was the most important. But there was a lot in there, including additional sanctions on Iran. Iran is already heavily sanctioned, of course. So do these additional sanctions actually move the dial?
In theory, they should. And Javier Blas over at Bloomberg Opinion made a great point that it's actually not about more added sanctions, it's about the enforcement of the sanctions. The question is, how much money does it add? And I think that the fine print is really important here, because it's not just about targeting refineries or ports or vessels for Iran, which is already being done in a lot of ways, by the way. It's targeting the financial infrastructure that ends up with a lot of Iranian crude into places like China, for example. Again, Javier Blas, I love his column in this week, where he said that a lot of that output is being kind of branded as Malaysian crude instead and ending up in China. What's important here is that this bill now targets that financial infrastructure, the banks, the financial institutions that really carry out some of those trades. When it means for the oil price, though, Eurasia Group saying that stricter enforcement of those sanctions, not just passing it, would add $2 to $3 per barrel on top of a $90 baseline. Again, it comes with the implication that it has to be stricter enforcement, something that the Biden administration has been had a lot of pushback on, that they haven't been tough enough. But even the White House saying that they're okay with doing this time around.
All about enforcement. Amrita Sen telling us yesterday as well that enforcement hasn't been there up until this point. So we watch that, as you say. Meanwhile, the divestment of TikTok from ByteDance, that will be signed into law. They have a period of time to work through that. Legal challenges. What's next?
Well, it doesn't happen as quickly as perhaps it has in the past, where TikTok just disappears from the App Store or Google Play or whatever. It is being already a hotly contested issue. You have the leadership over at ByteDance in particular in China, but also at TikTok as well, saying we're going to put this up in the courts. This is a long legal battle if indeed the United States is able to pass this bill, which is looking like, but it won't immediately disappear from everyday use. The concern here, of course, is the algorithm. You've made the point that this is China's hardline as well. It looks like it's the United States' hardline as well. I think what we're looking for ahead is a very long legal battle that will ultimately end up in the Supreme Court.